All right. Coffee today.
Yeah.
I cannot drink coffee this late.
No?
No way. I'll be up all night.
Oh, man.
It's pretty bad. I think we've talked about that before, right? We've already...
Yeah.
I think it's bad to go into another enzyme chat since we had an enzyme chat 3 or 4 episodes ago about alcohol, but same game, man.
Yeah.
Same game. I just don't have the enzymes for caffeine. Okay. I'm coming across something interesting. A new development. I want to make a prediction. So I've been working with a gentleman who's a very, very busy guy. And he started doing this weird thing where when I send him emails, what I get in return is a link to a Loom video. And when I open up the Loom video, it's just him responding to my email via video. Like Snapchats, but for email and like professional business work.
Okay.
I kind of like it. I'm kind of like, okay, like what if your email inbox was just you going back and forth with somebody with like weird kind of Snapchat-ish videos. It's just like, hey, yeah, see this. This is what I think we should do. Here's how we should move. Have you seen this yet?
I've not. It doesn't sound like the worst thing. I'd be curious as to what production value he puts into it.
None.
It's just him on his webcam.
It is on his webcam with like, at least with this situation, because it's a written email, he has my email up, right? So it's just him with like a little circle in the bottom corner. And he's like, hey, Braden, okay, let me read your email real fast. And he reads it and then he responds while he's reading it and goes. I'm like, all right. I think there's an element to it where it's more efficient for him now, but he had to have gone through a phase where it was like slow trying to make those videos and making sure it worked right and all of that stuff. But I kind of like it. I kind of want to start it. I really do.
It's definitely more personal.
Yeah.
It shows you're in the moment when you're engaging with whatever. It's not like the email was being written while I was trying to wrangle my kids at the playground.
Yeah, sitting on the pot.
It's like, yeah. It's like
I was engaged and actually involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
So here's my pitch. Here's where I think the future is going. And I tweeted this a while back, a couple weeks back. A few weeks back, I ran into a business that I wanted to purchase. I'm going to give a little bit of a story. Ran into a business I wanted to purchase. I went through the SIM. In businesses, it's called SIM, confidential and investment memorandum, confidential investment memorandum. In real estate, it's OM, offering memorandum. In startups, it's your pitch deck. It's all the same kind of thing. It's like just a deck of what's this company, what are the financials, et cetera. And there was weird ambiguities in it. And there's always weird ambiguities in these things. There's always something that you look at it and you go, that doesn't feel right. And I had to call the broker. We had a conversation. He knew it was ambiguous. He already had the answers prepared. It was already like he had done this several times with people. And I thought to myself, the future for brokers, capital raisers, real estate brokers, the future for all of this is a deck, whether you call it SIM, OM, whatever, a deck on a Loom video with you discussing it as you go through it. Because I think that, like you said, it's more personable. It's more engaged. It gives the people a chance to see who you are, the person pushing it out. I think that that's the future of capital raising. And I'm about to push hard on it on my end. What do you think?
First thing is, back to the Founders Institute, they would have us do pitches for our businesses and they would video record them and show them back to us. And some people inevitably used those to send other people as little intros for their business. Those were only 3 to 5 minute pitches. The full pitch would make sense. I imagine along the way, 2 people are going to hear the ambiguity come out whenever they're trying to talk about something. They're going to hear where something just doesn't make sense, where it hasn't been my general practice in the past. There's probably some really well-attuned people that do it, but like reading your whole business plan or reading just your pitch deck and all the notes out loud a couple times beforehand, probably good. So getting the video back, you get other insights, kind of like I talked about in the last video, where you're going to hear all your ums and your so's and your this and like this, and it'll make you either just criticize yourself a whole bunch, or it will motivate you and inspire you to put out a better video product or a better pitch.
Yeah.
So
I think there's just this cultural shift. And I wrote about this, I believe, in one of the blogs of a previous episode about how it's a shame that I love to write so much in an era where nobody reads. And it's just kind of true that we live in a time now where if you produce written content, if you produce those decks, some investors are getting so many of those decks that they, like if they run into an ambiguity or something that confuses them, they just won't move forward. They're like, whatever, I got another one. Like, I'm not going to do it, right? And so the ability to get ahead of it, the ability to show who you are and what you're about right on the jump, I think is going to be revolutionary for capital raisers. And I think that everybody's behind on this right now. And so it's a place where if you jump in and get in early, I think you can be the next big capital raiser that gets all the investors behind you. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
It all came from this guy sending me emails on video. Isn't that weird?
This could totally ruin it, or it could make it really, really good. But to, in your pitch, be pitching to somebody live, so you actually get like immediate either feedback or questions, and doing it for real. Like maybe even if the person isn't an investor or like, going to be involved in your company, getting a real person to give you a real guttural response whenever you show it to them and say things would probably be I think, good compliment to those videos.
Yes. So this other idea, that's so big. This other idea came from a VC group I'm working with, where we learned, myself and the managing partner, we learned that we have this good dance on live webinars, where if there's no questions coming from the live webinar, I could just throw something at him and it's a really good question, and then he can answer it, and it livens things up and keeps things going. And his idea was actually, hey, let's just pre-record something that's like a webinar, and let's just do it with you asking me questions. It was basically exactly what you just said. And that way, a lot of the investors' questions that would come up are already answered before they even have to reach out.
Yeah,
I think it saves time. Everything.
It plays into not the observer effect, but the observer position. I feel like we like to take a lot of the time, especially like in consuming content today. A lot of it, we're watching a movie so we can observe both sides of the conversation simultaneously.
Yes.
And like, why not make whatever else you're doing, your other kind of content fit that?
All content fit that.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Talked about couple realtors about doing that within real estate, where like right now, a lot of them, they do still pictures, maybe some slow like walkthrough videos. They do virtual tours. And my first response was like, my house and my home and where I live, I don't like to think of as a video game. It's not like this like digital thing that I need to like operate and maneuver through and walk like a robot through or anything. And it's not still, it's like it's live, it's in motion. And it's like we need to put honestly more like cinematic like looks around these houses where you show people having fun in the dining room. You have them and their kids playing video games upstairs. You have them grilling around the pool. You have them fishing in the pond out back. And you show those things. And
what's it like to live here?
You don't highlight the house quite as much as you highlight the moments that will happen in the house. Not the exact same effect that you'd go for in a pitch deck or a pitch
I think it's
video,
dang close though.
But it has the same elements that are coming into that industry, where it's like you need to show more of the moment and give people the opportunity to observe whatever it is that they're looking at happening or buying.
And front run the questions. While you're walking around looking at things, you can be like, well, I don't know what people ask on Realtors, questions about, what's the school district like? Things like that. You just go, oh yeah, well, school districts. Yeah. Good, bad, whatever, like just be honest and talk about it. I think that is so persuasive for selling houses.
Yeah.
That would be a win. I don't know why Realtors aren't doing that. You're exactly right. Sometimes they do like a TikTok video walkthrough. It's like, here's this house I love so much, but it still feels like sales.
Yeah.
And
you're showing me this like cold, hard material thing. And I'm trying to think about like, I need to live here.
Yeah.
Like my brain needs to rest here. My friends need to come over here. Like, so it's.
I also like the idea of turning it around on investors. So somebody gave me this idea I've had this idea of the Emerging Oaks Investment Club, okay, which is this idea that I'm going to bring in all of the deals that I see all the time, post them up on some server, some protected server. You got to pay money to get access to the server.
Yeah.
When you do, you can send me deals, and those are the deals that I review. So if there's 100 people, I get 100 deals a week, and a few of them go up or whatever. And somebody was like, well, you know how to get people interested, right? And I was like, no. And they were like, you got to make them try out to get in. They got to send you 3 deals to show that they have access to good deals. And I was like, yeah, you flip the script. And so what's so cool about being able to go on video, whether you're selling a house or whether you're selling interest in an investment or whatever, is you can give that video, give the pitch, give the spiel, feel good about it. And you can say, by the way, if you're interested, you can apply here. And then it's like I want to apply. Yeah. Can I see more?
Yeah, give me more.
Oh yeah. It's a way to get response. You know, nobody's going to give you a response unless you ask for it. And that's a great way to ask for it. People love getting accepted to things.
Yes. They love to feel qualified.
Oh man. I didn't know the conversation was going to go here, but I have something on that I think is very, very important that manipulates a lot of people. When I took my first job, I learned the kind of sketchy sales tactics that go into getting people to say yes to a job. Not all jobs have people clamoring to come work for them, like Google or Amazon, right? Sometimes you got to convince the other person that you're worth working for. Actually, oftentimes. And I learned these tactics because I went through it. And when I was going through the interview process for my first job, the interview process, you talk to several different people, and every time the person who brought you in would be like, hey man, that was good. You know, we only take 1 out of 10 people that we talk to, and I'm going to go back to the table and I'm going to fight for you. I really think that you belong here. I really think that you're the right kind of person. And you feel good. You're like, yeah, I'm going to get a job. This is nice. But you don't notice you're being sold. And then you get in the other end and you're like, oh, you hire anybody that will say yes and continue through the process. You're not really going to bat or anything. You're just like, you're just kind of producing this. That's like the element of recruiting that goes with it. And that was the first place where I learned that that's where you build culture. When you make people apply and make them feel excited about getting accepted, you build a culture where they are bought in. Whatever you say, they believe. Let's take it one step back. First job is where I learned this. I learned it too late. You know where people typically get suckered into that? College. Nothing feels better than putting your heart into your college essays, sending them out, and getting that nice packet back that's like, we want you. You're one of us now. And you feel so tribal about it and so welcome.
You are a bobcat.
You are, yeah, exactly.
Whatever,
exactly. You feel so encapsulated by it that as soon as you get into school, you'll believe whatever those people tell you. Doesn't matter. You're going to believe it because you're like, no, like these are my people. Like you feel like you earned being there. And that's the beginning of the manipulation. And I see it all the time now. Like there's a individual that I know who was getting calls for kind of college level dance opportunities. And they had no idea that this group calls everybody that goes to a kind of competition. They felt so good that they were calling them, and they made them feel good. Hey, we thought you were special. We saw what you did. We want you to pay to come participate in this thing. And there's an element of sales that is like, I'm going to make you feel good and make you feel like you earned being with me. That feeds back into that application process and all of that.
Oh, it's definitely one of the other dark one coming to mind was it's very prevalent in the e-commerce space where you get on a website and it's like, oh, for the next 3 people, it's this pricing.
Yeah. Urgent.
I can go on that same website
10 days later.
10 days later. Next 3 people get this pricing. It's not real.
It's not.
It's not real at all. It's false urgency.
Yep.
False sense of exclusivity. False sense of scarcity.
That's it. It's the scarcity.
Yeah.
The false sense of urgency. That is another big sales tactic. For limited time only. You can get. I mean, they've done that on TV for forever. We grew up with that, which I think is why we can sniff it out a little better. Like, $19.99, but if you call now, you get 2 free. Yada yada yada. Those old commercials.
And for a limited time, for the next 45 minutes, if you call, you get this.
And that commercial's running at every hour on the hour for the entire day on that channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, those sales tactics they're interesting. They're very interesting, and it's very hard not to fall for them.
Yeah. I think of discount stores, like a Marshall's or a TJ Ross or whatever. They show you like the original price, and then they show you like the price that it is there, and it's like, well, it's always this price here. So isn't it just? It's just $23. It's not. It was $59.99 and now it's $23. It's like, no, it's just $23.
Get you every time.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I saved $36 or whatever. It's like, no.
Yeah. One day we need to go through the psychology of human misjudgment. I don't know if you ever listened to that speech. It's Charlie Munger's speech that he gave to a business school, I believe. And Charlie Munger is an interesting character. He keeps a list. He's a list builder. And he has a list of what he has compiled over his life of psychological tricks that people use for sales or whatever, or psychological misjudgments is what he calls them, tweaks and weird things about the human psyche. And he gave a speech where he just went through all of them. And one of them was this comparison thing. And, realtors are trained to do that too. Realtors are trained to take you to a kind of crappy house that's $300,000. And then right after take you to a beautiful house that's $300,000 so that you go, whoa. And they did a test on this, I guess it was a psychology group, maybe it was a different group, did a test on this comparison. And I don't know if you've heard about this, they had a very cold bucket of water and a very hot bucket of water. And in the middle was just room temperature water. And they had people stick their hands in the hot and the cold, right? So they felt hot and cold. And then they had them stick their hands in the room temperature water. And the one that was cold, it felt hot, and the one that was hot, it felt cold. And it was a justification or a representation of how your brain doesn't register absolutes, it registers differences. And that's how they take advantage of you on stuff like that.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Relativity.
Relativity, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it is crazy. Going into just all the sales tactics out there.
Yeah, let's hit them.
Oh man, but just the manipulations. Not all manipulations are bad. I'll have to preface with that.
Yeah, we talked about that
a
couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, something.
So some manipulations are just, we got to put our hands on your thoughts to make sure that they're right where they should be. Very similar to the real estate is where it's like, yeah, let's make a $10 product, a $20 product, and a $100 product or whatever. And we're going to make the $20 product have 50% of what the $100 product does.
So it feels like you're getting a deal.
So it feels like you're getting a good deal. And I never care to sell a $100 product in my life or a subscription. And so everyone buys a $20 one and they think they get a great deal. And I actually just sold all of them. There's a great little meme and it shows a guy who, gosh, how can I not butcher this one? This is going to be great. Two guys are selling eggs on the side of the road. One guy's selling eggs for $4 a dozen. And the other guy's selling eggs for $3 a dozen. And so the guy that's selling them for $4 a dozen is like, dude, why are you trying to undermine me? And he's like, I don't know. How about this? I'll just buy all your eggs for $4 a dozen. So he buys them all and he sells all the eggs for $5 a dozen. Yeah. And it's like, that actually doesn't make sense at all. And
cornered the market.
He cornered the market and eliminated competition. It's not really a manipulation strategy.
It's what Amazon does, though.
No.
Amazon does that. They'll go into a market of some kind of product. Mm-hmm. They'll be a loss leader on that product for as long as they have to be a loss leader on that product until whoever they're competing against can't compete anymore and dies. Mm. And then they're the only ones selling that product and they can jack the price.
Okay. Does make me think of one that's slightly more relevant. whenever I worked in insurance and the oversettlement mitigation, we had a lot of business relationships with enterprises, one of which was an electronics retail outlet.
Yeah.
And what they did was they would sell TVs for $2 below cost.
Loss leader.
They would sell cables to connect your TVs to the stuff for like 2,000% markup.
So you feel like you're getting a deal on TV, and then you're like, well, I got to get the cable. Yep.
And they were just killing it on cables.
Yep.
And is that a bad thing? I mean, no, I don't think it's good or bad. It's just interesting how businesses put that together. Telcos, service providers at least, Sprint, T-Mobile, all them. Whenever cell phones first came out, they had all one package. It was you pay one price, you get your cell phone, you get your line, you get all your minutes, and then people were like, well, how much does my phone cost? I want to see. And now they're like, oh, you can have options. But now that we separated them out, now we charge you more for your phone line and more for your phone.
Sorry about that. You guys to unbundle.
Yeah, you want to know what all the costs are. Now that we get to change our product, we actually get more room and more freedom to charge more money.
You know how else people get manipulated? This is a shoot. I wish I could remember the group. I won't talk about the group. There is a element of give and take in a sales scenario where if you give somebody something, they feel more socially obligated to give back to you. So this is why salespeople pay for your lunch.
Yeah.
Why salespeople buy you gifts. They're like, what they're doing is they're setting you up for a reciprocation feel that's like, oh no, now I have to reciprocate and do the same for you. And that's another way to subtly manipulate people.
Yeah, The Art of Parody or something like that was a book that I was supposed to read for one of my first jobs.
Heck yeah.
I didn't.
Nice.
Can't even talk about why I didn't, but yeah, the parody deal, the giving people something extra if they do something. I won't come down on my price, but I'll give you this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still get all the money, and heck, one of our sponsors or something gave us those things for free anyway, so it doesn't cost me anything else. I'm giving you away free stuff that someone else gave to me for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it makes you feel like you're getting more. Other weird sales things. The whole working backwards on some, like creating the urgency with someone with their timeline. Where you're like, oh, what are you buying this for? Oh, you're buying it for your trip in August. Okay. Well, what are you doing between now and then? Oh, you got work? Oh, you got some bills? Oh, you got all this stuff? Well, so you probably want to account for buying this now. So that way when it comes time you got to go on your trip, you have it, you know it's accounted for. So does that make more sense? Oh, yeah. Okay, you're right. Let's get it now. It's like, you probably don't even need this thing at all.
No.
Yeah.
That's true.
But
I like talking about, let's dive into loss leaders real fast for a minute, because there's an interesting thing on loss leaders. There are two businesses that Warren Buffett talks about being terrible businesses that I agree are absolutely terrible businesses. One is, well, actually Warren Buffett likes banks. I don't like banks for the most part. I just think they're run poorly. But they're loss leaders, right? Banks have lost more in the entire history of their existence than what they've made. The other one that Buffett does criticize are airlines. I heard this the other day. I had no idea that airlines, flights are loss leaders. They're credit card companies. Airlines lose money for every seat when they take flights. The only way they make money is through their credit cards and interest on credit cards.
okay.
Isn't that interesting? I was like, man, they really ruined the business model there by not being profitable on the flights.
Yeah.
Just another weird deal.
I wonder how much, that makes me really curious to how much they lose per flight, per seat.
Yeah, I had the number. When I first read this detailed report, I got the number. It was maybe like $1 per seat per flight or something like that. I mean, it's significant, I guess.
Yeah, so 230 seats on a flight. $230 per flight it costs them, but they're making 30% on people's.
And they make sure they
credit
walk
card
down the
bills.
aisle and sell their American Airline Advantage Rewards card before you get off the plane, so that you're signed up and locked into the system.
Yeah.
It's just it's so weird how people have these loss leaders, and Amazon was really one to drive it and like really prove the model that you can have a loss leader for years, and while you do that, just build up something that's just so powerful and a true monopoly.
It was not their distribution, but their logistics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Prime was costing them.
Prime was a loss leader.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They lost money on Prime, but while they did that, they just built up the best base of buyers.
Oh, yeah.
That it was like, now we have the world. We can do whatever we want. Mm-hmm.
We're hooked.
Am I the only person that doesn't have Amazon Prime? I might be. There should be a label for that. Like, I don't have Amazon Prime.
Man, yeah, they're good. I mean, and they give. But this makes me wonder why I haven't done it a little bit. But like they have Amazon Music, which has all the same songs as like Spotify, but I don't use it for some reason, even though I technically pay for it.
Yeah, I thought that they had audiobooks. Do they have audiobooks? Free audiobooks?
Yeah, audiobooks. Got the podcast. Well, I think Audible, you get a limited selection for free if you have Prime. But yeah, see, they got us hooked. They gave us something that was so good we can't get off of it. Sounds like drugs.
They'll be around forever.
Yeah, they're like a drug dealer.
Yep.
They're like, we're gonna give you the good stuff in the beginning, and then every year or two we're just gonna raise our prices a little bit, and we're gonna solve our loss leader problem. So now we're making 4 times as much money.
And they're in. Yeah, they solved that problem, and then they cash flowed like crazy. I'm trying to think of other loss leaders. I mean, there's so many of them. That's what I think Uber tries to do, and it's not working great for them.
I don't think they've ever made money to date, right? They're
I
still
don't know.
in the red, if I'm not mistaken.
As most good tech companies are.
Yeah.
You know it's good if it's in the red. Oh, I'm not going to get another investing rant, but I really want to.
Man. What else has come up lately? That prosperity paradox book, I still haven't made it all the way through. But the whole, the pulling people into prosperity versus pushing, almost like you can put very simply, like you can lead a horse to water, can't make him drink. The description and detail they go into around that in practice and how it works on a macroeconomic scale, fascinating. The one that struck me the most was the toilets in India, how they were highly incentivized to put toilets in instead of incentivized to have clean cities.
Yeah.
And so the country was like, yeah, fine, we'll just pay people to put toilets everywhere. And they're putting toilets everywhere, literally buying toilets and putting them on the street, not hooking them up to anything, not hooking them up to sewer, not hooking them up to water. And then they were getting overfilled and it was costing more money to clean those. And only once they switched the strategy to incentivizing people to have a clean city did it actually make a difference.
Incentives matter.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest sales thing.
And not
incentives.
just having incentives, it's
what they are.
Yeah, what they're for, where they go. Like the goal of both of those incentives was to clean up the city and have people not defecating in the streets. But one was very poorly placed and even resulted in a negative effect. So
there's a lot to that. So in the psychology of misjudgment, where Munger goes into a lot of different sales tactics, he also goes into incentives. That's the first one. He jumps in right in with that. And it tells a story about FedEx. I'm sure you've heard it before, where FedEx was starting their overnight program, their overnight shipping program. And they were having issues where they couldn't get it done because the overnight shift, the people working overnight, were not working fast enough or hard enough to get everything loaded up for overnight shipments. And they were blowing it.
yeah.
And they called in a consultant. And the consultant looked at it and he was just like, you got your incentives all wrong. He said, you're paying these people hourly. So their incentive is to be here all night long. If you pay them by the load, not only will they get it done faster, but they won't have to be here as long either. They will just push it, right? If you pay. So paying differently, like you said, the goal either way for FedEx was to get everything loaded overnight, to get overnight shipping going. When they changed how they incentivize the people to make that happen, FedEx overnight shipping took off. Kind of revolutionized the way we do things in the world, you know?
Yeah.
That's the power of incentives. And you look at one big criticism today by Buffett and people who follow Buffett's investment style are options to executives for companies. So you're an executive, you have options that expire in 2 years, big bonus, a huge amount of money, and it's triggered by a certain stock price. You will do everything you possibly can to take tomorrow's business, push it forward to today. Doesn't matter what happens tomorrow, push it forward to today. So if the stock price hits that number, and you get your bonus.
Yeah.
So they're incentivizing people to take short-term moves.
Yeah, I might hatchet a whole department or something because I need to drop my bottom line so that my revenue comes up or whatever the goal is. Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the times they do just stupid stuff like buy a new company or something, you know, like they do something with the capital that they have.
They get some POs of like orders that aren't fleshed out at all. Like they're like, yeah, we got the PO, we can put it on the books, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're like, oh,
that's revenue.
Yeah. It's $1.8 million. What do we have to do?
Yeah. They do that.
I don't know.
They do that.
Put it in our CRM.
They're very sketchy, and that's what their incentives are. Yeah. And they're the incentives of, I mean, sometimes the people who are supposed to be auditing them are paid for by the company. So the company pays an auditor. Is the auditor that's paid for by the company going to be like the company's doing wrong? Why would they? Because then they're just going to get axed.
Yeah.
We'll go find a new one.
It's just like we talked about a while back, how lawyers are incentivized, how scientists are incentivized, and how accountants are incentivized. Yeah. It's like they're being paid by the people that want whatever that subject is that they're putting their hands on to say a certain thing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, audit me in a way that says I'm doing good, please.
Or even, so one interesting thing about
report how great I'm doing, please.
Yeah, please. I will pay you, report how good I'm doing. Yeah. Thank you. One, and you know this well, I mean, you were in the TIC space, you get it. One element of attorneys' compensation that just gets me going. So, you know, I kind of participate in small business acquisition deals, right? Trying to move them. I've noticed that deals fail a lot because of the attorneys of the seller. And I think there's a reason for this. So selling a company, I have a corporate attorney or just a buddy attorney who works for the company. I pay him hourly to solve problems. When that company's gone, that lawyer's business is gone. What incentive does he have to give the seller good negotiating advice and help him come to reasonable terms and decisions about the value of the business if as soon as the business sold, he's lost that and he's got to go sell and find somebody new? None. They kill deals. They really do. And I don't know if they do it consciously, but there's definitely an incentive structure behind that makes them go, that deal doesn't look quite as good as it could. You should probably keep the company and keep moving.
Yeah. Incentives, man. Something else that was bubbling in the back of my head, but I was trying to be patient about it. Incentives, lawyers,
doctors,
FedEx.
Yeah. Dang, you lost it.
It's gone.
I talk too much. That's the problem.
No, it's not it. Must not have been that relevant. The incentive structure for somebody, for something. Yeah, don't know.
It's kind of big in the government too. So when you were talking about the prosperity paradox.
Oh, yeah, let's get into incentive structures of politicians. Why don't
I want to take it back to ESG.
Okay.
I'm going to be safe. I'm going to be safe with this. Be very safe with this. ESG, as soon as people don't think of it this way, they tax oil and gas like crazy. There's so many ticky-tacky taxes all the way through the process of producing oil and gas. What they did was they started taking that tax revenue. It almost seems like this. You can almost calculate it to the dot like this. Taking that tax revenue and giving it out as tax credits to ESG plays. There are so many ESG plays, windmills, solar farms, things like that, that I kind of talked about at some other time on here. They aren't generally profitable business models, but they become profitable whenever you have a bunch of tax incentives and you end up not paying any taxes.
Oh yeah.
So they take all of this tax revenue from businesses that are profitable, that are valuable, that are providing energy to the world, sustaining our well-being, and they take that money and fish it off to somebody. And the incentives of everybody now is to go to the thing that the government's giving you money to. Like they try and incentivize business to go a certain direction through their tax incentives. It's
the economic plungers. One goes down, one comes up.
It is.
On a similar thread, since I'm going to Costa Rica soon, I was talking with someone about it, and they were like, man, it just has this like vibe. It's so different, and it's always been laid back. It still seems to have preserved itself well. When they used the word preserved, it reminded me that Costa Rica, one of their biggest income sources for their government is the UN's carbon credit system.
So they just get it for having trees.
So they're incentivized to not really economically progress.
Wow.
They're like, we don't want, they're like, are you kidding me? We make so much money. I want to say it's one of their top revenue sources for their government.
We make money doing nothing.
Reforestation. So basically Exxon pays Costa Rica to
do nothing,
just to grow trees because they're cutting them down.
Isn't that funny?
But so their incentive structure in that country has preserved them, which as a tourist and as a vacationer and also a lot of locals, they really enjoy it too. But their incentives have stopped their economic progression.
Oh yeah.
So
it's hurting them. It's gonna hurt them.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, one day they might be like, oh, all of our roads have fallen apart, or I don't know what the consequences are going to be. I actually have no way to forecast that.
At some point, that incentive is going to go away because it's going to become mainstream. Everybody's going to be doing it, so why would they pay you to do it?
There it is.
And then you're going to be so far behind because you have no technology infrastructure, no banking infrastructure.
Yeah, one day Exxon's going to be like, yeah, we bought a forest. We'll pay ourselves the credits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're good, y'all. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So, okay, totally, there it is.
That's it. One day that's going to be their problem. And when it is, they're going to be pissed off and there's going to be riots. And it's unfortunate. There are economies that are just built that way. I feel like there's several that are built that way. It's just so strange. So I want to hammer on Exxon real fast and oil and gas. Do you think they're bad or good for the world?
Oh my gosh. Can't measure. I think Exxon's, I'd have to put a lot of big companies like people where it's like, we're neither good nor bad, but we do good and bad things. Like in the grand scheme of the world and with climate, I actually don't know. I'm not enough of a scientist. I haven't researched enough. I don't know enough. Like if I had looked at the news and sensationalized myself in the situation, I'd be like, oh my gosh, gas, like bad, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, I've worked with Exxon. I've met their people. Like they're great. They're organized. Like they're really kind, courteous. Like they probably sponsor a whole lot of, I know that they sponsor a whole lot of nonprofit work and a lot of economic development for underprivileged communities and stuff like that. So they do that, and they'd also help get the gas into my car that helped get me here today. They help get the gas out that heats my house whenever it gets freezing cold. So I like all those things, and I'm users of their product. So for me to be like, oh, they're horrible, it's like, I'm not in a position to even make that claim.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to pull out my little sponsor sheet of like how my life runs, like Exxon would be on there.
So. It is.
Yeah.
That's kind of, you nailed it. I just think people demonize oil companies so much and oil so much. And it's exactly right. You pull out your sponsor sheet of how your life's going and they're squarely on there with everybody. I mean, there's nobody that oil and gas does not touch and has not made their life significantly better than what it would be without it. I just feel like I needed to make that plug while we were on Exxon.
Yeah, come on.
I knew that somebody on here was going to be like, oh, Exxon's so bad. That's why they're paying credits to Costa Rica, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, no, it's like you got to, in our lives, we got to pay other people to do the things that we lack. And it's like, if I do this really well and I don't do that part really well, I got to pay someone else to do it.
Yep.
The part that'd be irresponsible of them is if they weren't paying someone else to make up for the things that they lack.
There's such a high correlation to quality of life and production of oil and gas.
Yeah.
Huge production of quality. I mean, that's where all of our medicines come from, right? We wouldn't have pills without oil and gas, all kinds of plastics, obviously all of the energy infrastructure and things that we use energy for. You look at, I don't even know how long it's been now since winter, when all of the gas was shut down in Germany. Cold as hell, right? After Russia-Ukraine crap happened and they shut down gas to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think people misunderstand how bad life would be if we didn't have it. So it's like,
yeah,
get over it.
Yeah.
Get over it. You got to.
Also, I'd also put it in one of the categories, or in the category of a little out of my lane.
Yeah.
We talked about, like, what problems can I spend my time and actually make an effect on? It's like, I can't affect that. If I see someone out on the road outside just pouring gasoline on the side of the road to like kill plants, I can go tell them, hey, stop doing that. That's not good. Boom. Made my difference in the oil and gas world.
Mm-hmm.
That's not happening today, and I haven't seen it happen in my lifetime. So, I mean, it's like, is that really like my place? No.
You're right.
Yeah.
Worrying about the problems in the screen rather than...
Yeah.
That's so true.
If I see someone like dumping oil like out in their backyard because they changed the oil, I'm like, yo,
yeah,
take it to Advanced Auto.
I'm going to do the same thing if I see somebody like clubbing a baby seal. I'm going to be like,
go.
Stop.
Yeah. Those problems are right here in front of me. Like,
yeah.
I've seen people trying to dump oil in their backyard. I'm like, yo, just take it to Advanced Auto. It's free.
Yeah.
They'll dispose of it for you.
It's cool. Stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, so those moments, yeah, I'm there. I'm going to affect that. Am I going to affect what Exxon does? No. Do I have any platform to like influence people on their thoughts about oil and gas? No, not really. Not my lane. I'm out.
I like that. That's a good approach to it.
Yeah.
That's a very good approach to it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Exxon.
I'm trying to think of what other industries do you think generally have a bad rep?
Well, I think drug manufacturers generally have a bad rep. Maybe. Obviously, tobacco has a bad rep. Nobody likes tobacco. Nobody likes guns. Nobody likes oil and gas. They're kind of the mafia that's like, we got to struggle to find capital providers because people don't like us.
Yeah. Gosh, each one of those. I've worked with tobacco companies.
You have?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Now, nice people. They did all smoke, pretty much.
Yeah, they did.
So they ate their dog food, which was good. Strange enough, very clean facility. Can't really say a lot about them. I mean, they're making plants for a lot of the part, So they're in agriculture technically, and those produce oxygen, which I think everyone is a big fan of. And so there's a big portion of their business that's pretty sustainable and pretty good for our planet, I'd say. How
many of them do you think own vitamin brands and other things that are supposed to be healthy for you? I've run into one tobacco company before that owns other brands that are like health and wellness brands along with tobacco.
Yeah.
Have you ever dug into that?
I have not. I mean, but it's the whole concept. You know the saying better than I do. It's, if I'm in the business of digging ditches, I also sell shovels or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. Oh, man. Okay. What else you got?
What else do I got? Man, I haven't pulled in a whole lot this week. It was more on the production side, so it's a very strange place to be where...
Let's see what I got here. Production side, strange place to be.
Oh, just not as inundated with thoughts. Just been more on getting things out.
Me too.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can cut this out, but let's see if we can get one more thing going. I'm tired already. Just looking at random things we can get. I got it. Okay. Before we bounce out, you're a fitness guy. What do you know and what have you read about fasting?
So what have I read? Fasting in the minimum, they say about 16 hours, which is the time and place where autophagy.
Okay.
Never actually heard it out loud. So
Autophagy is the word, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
It could be autophagy.
I think it's autophagy.
Okay.
Sure.
Happens, which is almost like the shedding of bad cells in your body, which sounds good to me because understanding cancer is literally just like malignant means a misformed cell. So it's like they were originally a normal cell, they were misformed and then became what is cancer. Cancer is not like a external virus or external substance that gets into your body. It's like, no, your body was like, I'm trying to do this and I can't do it and I did it wrong.
Yeah.
And then that keeps happening.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, metaphor for life right there.
Yep.
Your small problems turn
Once
into big
you get
problems
one,
one
it
day.
just compounds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Little anecdote on that. Like my dad one time got a cactus thorn in his calf right here. And he didn't get the end of it out. And so over the next couple of weeks, like he would like kind of mess with it, but not really get it out. And it stayed in there. Ended up going for like 3 or 4 months. And it was like dark and then it turned like an open wound. And it's like, dude, you gotta go to the hospital. He goes to the doctor and they're like, you have cancer in your leg. He's like, what? Like, yeah. He's like, how? And they were like, well, there's something in your leg and it just, your body kept trying to grow the right way around that thing that's not supposed to be in there. And eventually it grew the wrong way. And it started cancer. And they just like, oh gosh. And I was like, yeah. And he was all like freaked out. He's like, oh, is this going to happen to me everywhere now? I was like, no, dude, it's because your body was trying to do the right thing for so long and it couldn't do it right there. It grew the wrong one. Anyway, so autophagy, in my understanding of the body, once again, not a doctor. I got a couple skill credits, I think, from reading. I've read medical encyclopedias and probably a couple thousand pages of like the NCIB or PubMed like researches.
More into it than I am.
So autophagy would be great to like rid your body of a lot of those cells along the way. Now, if it hits a certain threshold of like amount of cells, it's never going to get rid of those, and then that's where cancer will start. So I think it's great for that. Metabolically, I have to imagine that it's pretty good because inevitably our system will adapt and redirect its efforts to whatever is being ingested. So certain foods, certain like caffeine, certain things that are changing our blood pressure and vasodilation and all these other systems in our body, like having some time away from all that, it's like, your body can just be like, what do I normally do? How do I normally operate? What can I do just by myself? Very similar to our spirit. It's like we got to spend like alone time just like sitting with
and not doing things.
Yeah. So I love that. Long-term fasting, I did 3 days one time.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, I am so food dependent. It's pretty intense, like the thoughts that came through my head during those.
3 days is crazy.
Yeah, the first day was really hard, and then I guess day 2 to 3 was a little bit easier. But clearly we can do it. So the last thing I'll say about fasting is, for everyone that says I'm starving, I know you're being super hyperbolic, and that's how how we speak in America. I think it's a cultural thing for us to emphasize and dramatize whatever we're feeling. But it's like, no, you're not. You're not even close.
No.
Like, you're fine.
You probably had breakfast.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're like, oh, I'm weak. It's like, maybe you are just weak.
The cactus thing is crazy about your dad's. I need to think more about that because I almost think that that's a risk that you run whenever you get implants in knees or shoulders or things like that. It's the same thing. There's something foreign in your body that your body is like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I think that's a true risk that people don't take into account. It's like a hidden risk. I've never heard of anything like that before.
Oh yeah.
So I'm glad you took the science route of fasting. I think when I first got into fasting, it was because of the science route. And then I finally clicked and came to terms where I was like, well, if science says it's good and the Bible says it's good, like I'm doubling down on this one. Yeah. That's huge. Mm-hmm. So I do enjoy it. And I liked your explanation of the science. So have you heard of Lifespan, the book Lifespan, or David Sinclair, the scientist?
Yeah.
Big guy. You may not like him as much because he tells people not to work out a lot. He thinks, you have a certain amount of times that your cells can reproduce. And so if you push all that forward today,
it's the same thing.
Like, same reason why bodybuilders die at 50 is his hypothesis kind of deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far you go there, but
the telomeres shorten every time our cells replicate. And
nailed
it's like we basically have a battery.
Yep.
That doesn't recharge. And once you drain that battery, it forgets how to replicate and then age.
Or replicates incorrectly.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the big thing here is that's when I learned about the epigenome and what the epigenome does and how it operates and how it triggers certain strands of your DNA to activate for certain cells, right? So you have your stem cell, just a pure cell. The epigenome takes that stem cell and says, hey, you're going to be a hair cell, or you're going to be a bone cell, or you're going to be a liver cell or whatever. And the craziest thing is whenever you start to age, whenever those telomeres get messed up, whenever there's radiation damage to your DNA or whatever happens, your epigenome gets a little out of whack. And it's like, oh, that, liver cell, actually, it's only 60% a liver cell and 40% a bone cell. And then it replicates like that. And now all of a sudden, that's where you get these things that he writes in his book. He's just like, you look at a cancer cell and it's like a hair cell, bone cell, eye cell, whatever, and it's on a person's lung. And you're like, interesting. Ooh. So, these things, you go, oh, interesting. So I think the idea of that DNA cell mishap, whatever it is, whatever causes it, however it happens, and that's what cancer starts from, is one of the most intriguing things to me. I think about it, and I go, I don't understand how that happens, but thank God for autophagy or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'll be fasting every week. Get me away from that.
So you fast Thursday to Friday, basically through when we do these.
Yes.
And then until after, where we go to the pub.
I fast Wednesday night is my last meal, and then I fast through. Yep. Okay. Until, I usually have something. I was in a hurry today, but usually I have something right after we do this before pub. But yep.
Yeah.
Yep. As much as I can, I try and stick to that. It's hard though, especially weekly. You have to prep for it.
Reoccurring, and then on the spiritual side, similar to speak about it the same way as the science. During the fasting, times I fast at least, weigh in on this, but it helps you shed some of the thoughts or dependencies that you have on other things.
You clean up a lot. The small things that you keep stressing over or getting anxiety over, whatever it is, they just kind of fall out on the wayside. That's exactly what it is. You do feel like Thursday nights are my most awesome nights where I am just I'm on a different level. I'm ready to go. There is a spiritual element to it that is healthy, 100%. It's sad that more people don't do it. Yeah. I watched a guy on TikTok. This is where we can end. There's some guy on TikTok that is now coming up on my videos who is on a rampage against the fitness and health industry.
Okay.
He's kind of a funny guy. Apparently he used to be really, really, really obese, and now he's lost weight, and all of his rants are the fitness industry is manipulating the personal trainers and they don't know what they're talking about, and everybody's all up on all these diets, but obesity keeps increasing. And he's just all you got to do is fast. If you just fast, you will get skinnier. And it's well, yeah, I guess that's true.
Immediately what comes to mind is that guy, or that you said the micro doesn't apply, doesn't scale to the macro.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's
it is that. Totally, you cannot generalize from the particular.
Yeah. I think I gave the example before, but it's my grandpa, 99 years old,
smoked, drank, or
was having a cigar and having his lunch whiskey after welding for the morning for his community. And he died that way. Me, I know if I smoke a cigar, my fingertips feel like they've dried out, and my mouth feels like the Sahara Desert, and I feel like I'm going to die for the next day.
Yep.
And it's I can't do that. And because it doesn't apply to the macro. Him, Now, maybe he liked that feeling. I don't know. Never got to talk to the dude. But this guy kind of sounds a little bit like that, where it's like, fasting is absolutely good.
Just because it worked for you.
Are all the other industry like leaders lying?
Wrong.
Or wrong? No. There are more than one way. Yeah, I'm gonna close right here. I've always said, everyone's like, the path is narrow. What is it? The path to Jesus is narrow or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
the narrow road.
Yeah, the narrow road. I'm like, I agree, it's narrow, but we don't all walk down the same one to get to him. Because if Jesus is the cup, you and I have to take a very different, and there's one single path to get right there. But it's a different one for each one of us. Because you got to go that way, and I got to go this way. And if I try to go your way, I'm going to go way out of my way just to go your way.
In math, there's a math term for this. It's called non-unique solutions.
Okay.
It's when you have an equation. So, typical algebra equation, x plus 3 equals 7. Solve for x. There are equations, that's a unique solution. That has one solution. There's only one possible solution for that. There are equations that exist that have non-unique solutions. The solutions can be a set. It could be all prime numbers are a solution for this, or all even numbers are a solution for this.
Okay.
And people forget, or maybe they don't even know conceptually, that there's such thing as non-unique solutions and that there's multiple paths to the same solution. It's actually a pretty revolutionary idea when you think about it, because you look at all the people who were like, I did this to be successful. I did this to live a long time, like your grandpa, or like you talk to the old lady who's 103 and you're like, how did you do it? And she's like, a Dr. Pepper every day.
That's the lady I was thinking of,
Yeah, a Dr. Pepper every day. And it's like, yeah, that got you there, but that's not a unique solution. The solutions are non-unique. There's a set of solutions that can get you there. And people get so hung up on the one way because they looked at it that they go from the particular to the general.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they messed up.
Yeah.
So, all right, we can end there. But
cool, man.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Excellent.
Oh, we gotta walk.
I was like, oh yeah.
Okay.